All right, hello everyone. Eric Marks, findingmiddleearth.com, and today I'm here with another post-processing video using On1 Photo Raw. And we're going to be doing a sky replacement. We're going to be turning a day photo into a night photo and replacing a blue sky with some stars. So it sounds hard and complicated. I promise it's not. The great thing about all of this is for all of you people that don't like switching softwares, you can do all of this inside of On1. We don't need Photoshop at all. In fact, we don't really even need complicated tools. It's all inside of here. We'll get over. We'll go over that in just a minute. I'm in a particularly good mood today because I just got off the phone with one of the guys at On1, one of the corporate members, and he's just a super cool guy. His name's Michael, super down to earth, super nice, and it was just refreshing to know that On1 is one of the great companies out there that likes taking feedback from their users, right? It's such a simple concept that most companies should do, but they really pay attention to the photographers that use their products. And we talked about the future of On1. We talked about my YouTube channel. And what's so cool, so this all resulted in something that's cool for you guys. So he saw my last video where I compared On1 to Capture One in Lightroom, did all the raw processor comparisons, and I'm assuming he must have seen some of the comments because quite a few of the comments said, Eric, I really want to get On1. Do you have a coupon code, or is there some kind of way I can save money on this somehow? And so before we get off the phone, Michael said, hey, Eric, by the way, I want to give you a coupon code. I'm going to email you one for your viewers so that they can save 20% on On1 Photo Raw. Yes, you heard me correct. 20%. That's huge. So thank Michael for that. He's an awesome guy. He wanted you guys to have that, and I'm pumped about it. So now you guys can save 20%. Just type in my coupon code FMEON1 at checkout when you're on their online store, and FMEON1 will save you 20%. So if you are interested in that, that will save you some money there. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial here. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible because I know a few of my other videos have been kind of lengthy, and I don't want to waste too much of your time. I know time is valuable, right? So let's go ahead and take this photo. This is the middle photo in my set of 3 brackets. This is the underexposed version. So I'm using the underexposed bracket to convert to a nighttime photo because it's already got detail from the sky, well, not really the sky, but it's already got detail that's darker and much more contrasty and less likely to be overexposed, like these 2 images, because it's my underexposed bracket, and obviously I don't want any kind of highlights burnt out at all in my nighttime photo. So this isn't the best candidate for a sky replacement, day to night photo, but it's going to be good for this example. So let's click on the info over here. This photo was taken with a Fujifilm X-T2. Shot at 16 millimeters on the 16 to 55 2.8. And like I said, this was my underexposed bracket. So let's hop into the develop module and let's just do a couple of things, just kind of a foundation of processing to help this photo and making it more of a nighttime photo. So obviously we're going to lower the exposure a little bit, actually a lot of it, and then we're going to pump the shadows up. Okay, and then you'll notice the green, all the vegetation and then the green trees here are very poppy because it was the midday sun was just smacking the trees, which is making the green colors more vibrant. So obviously at nighttime, there pretty much is no color. So we're going to add a lot of blues, okay, a lot of blues to really sell this nighttime look. And then we're going to desaturate this like crazy. We're going to desaturate about 25%, and we're going to go minus on the vibrance, about 25%. So see how that just kind of really muted all the harsh green and yellow tones. It's still not perfect, again, because this photo really isn't a really great option for a nighttime photo because it's really contrasty, but this is really helping it along. So I think this is a good starting place, maybe a little more darker. All right, a little darker, something like that. Okay, so we're almost 2 stops underexposed. And then we'll go ahead and jump into the layers module. So we haven't done anything in the layers module yet on my video, so this will be new for a lot of you. So what it's doing right now when it jumps into the layers module is it is making a copy of the raw file, and it's making a PSD. So it's making a 16-bit PSD file. What's nice about that is you can actually customize how you want it to handle your files. So if you go up here to On1 and Preferences, go over to Files, I have my file format as PSD whenever it copies the image. The color space defaults to sRGB, so watch out for that. I changed mine to Adobe RGB. And then I have mine as 16 bits, 300 resolution. I'm a happy man. So got a really good quality file to play with here. Now let's go back out of here and let me show you what you get when you enter the Layers module. So you have these two tabs up here. You have the Files tab and the Extras tab. And Files is basically just my file management system. It's a look into my computer. If you go to Extras, On1 gives you a folder here called On1 Extras, and they actually give you backgrounds, borders, textures to play around with your photos. You can actually add those to your photos. So I'm going to go into Backgrounds and Skies, and they actually have a pretty nice library of skies here. They have some golden sunsets, some really moody, dramatic clouds, blue skies, you name it. So they have a lot of stuff here. I'm going to choose Skies 42, which is a nice little starry night here with kind of a pinky orangey hue horizon, which is nice. So we're just going to drag and drop that on the photo. We're going to add it as a layer. And then we're going to go over here, click the Move tool. Okay, and we're just going to position this. So obviously, let's drag this down for a second. You can see that there's going to be some issue here because my tree line is kind of curved upwards. So we're going to have to angle this just a little bit. Even though my horizon wasn't curved, it's still going to give it the effect that that everything is, kind of curving up because of the trees. So let's angle this just a little bit. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this over here. So you can see there's going to be a problem because the sky's image isn't big enough to fill the frame here. So if you hold Shift on your keyboard and you drag one of the corners, you can scale this up proportionally without having to stretch it too much. So we'll do something like that, and then we'll just stretch it the rest of the way. So let me just yank this bottom corner and we can stretch it. We'll pull it down a little bit. Okay, so now that it is stretched and it fits the file, we can drag it up and see where we're going to position everything, where we're going to drop it. Let's see. We'll drop it about maybe here. Something like that. Okay, now right now it looks terrible, obviously. There are a couple of cool little tools we can use. So let's go ahead and just apply this so we can leave it there. And then what's nice is there's a nifty little tool in the Layers module called Mask Bugging, or Masking Bug, something like that. Let me see what it's called. Yeah, Masking Bug. And you can click that, or you can just hit M on your keyboard, and you can just drag down. Okay, when you drag down, you'll have to turn this upside down. And you can see it's it's very similar to the gradient mask in Photoshop, where it's just kind of very soft and subtle and just gradually laying the star layer over this image. So we can drag these lines, and basically the lines are going to set the parameters on how fast and what distance we want the blurriness to start blending in with the sharpness of the edges. So basically how big the gradient is from where it's going to get sharp to blurry. So we want it to kind of be a little blurry. So the default kind of medium setting here is actually pretty nice. So I'm just going to drag it something like that. Okay, nothing too crazy, just something like that. Okay, and then right now it still doesn't look great because we still have the tree line, right, that curves up. So the stars are still kind of overlaying over the trees, which isn't very attractive. So to kind of up the level or up the notch a little more to sell this and make this more believable, there's another tool you can use here, which is the blending modes. Make sure you're selected on the sky layer, and let's go to the blending modes. And I find that for this situation, overlay and soft light both work really well. So if we go to overlay, look what happens there. Soft light, same thing. It just kind of more naturally blends into the scene. So let's go ahead and click overlay. And there's still a couple problems. So let's get back to our view tool here. And obviously you'll see that the edges of the tree line are really black and dark in certain points because the edges of the stars are still running right over the edge of the trees. So there's a good way to fix this. If you click B on your keyboard and go up here to the feathering tool, make it 100% feathering, which means it's a big soft brush. Let's crank the opacity down. The opacity is basically the percentage of the effect that we're painting in or painting out. And over here is the mode, which is paint out or paint in, and we want to paint out the stars. You can toggle back and forth between painting in and out with the X key on your keyboard. So let's actually lower the opacity a little more, maybe 20%. And we're going to paint the stars out. Okay, we're just going to do a couple of brush passes over the horizon line and the trees here. We're going to work that in, and you'll notice something. So as I'm doing this, you'll notice that I'm not being too careful with the edges of the trees. I'm actually letting the brush kind of spill over into the stars, which is making the stars a little brighter right behind the trees. So why am I doing this? Because the way a sky naturally works and the way it looks to our human eyes, if you think about the way a sky looks at sunset or at nighttime, it's always much darker up in the sky and gets gradually brighter as you get closer to the horizon. So we should have the same principles as we're brushing this image, because it really makes it look much more natural. You might be thinking, if you're thinking too technically, you might be thinking, oh gosh, I'm giving this photo a really bad halo around the edges. But really, this is making it look much more natural, because the horizon line is much more, luminance levels are much brighter as you get closer to the horizon. So I'm just going to keep tidying this up a little bit, okay? And then we can go back to paint in, so we can paint in the stars, and we can go here to the opacity and crank it down even further, and we can start painting in the stars, just back in, just, little bits, just gradually. Okay, something like that. I'm going to hit the X to go back to paint out, and we're going to really work on painting it out just around the tree line here. I'm going to make the brush smaller. Okay, we'll just clean up those trees. Good. Get a bigger brush, kind of blend that in. I don't know if any of you have ever done any oil painting before, but if you've ever seen someone do oil painting on a canvas, this is much like oil painting. It's very similar to the fact that you kind of, get your scene together and then you blend everything in. You have your wet brush, or your dry brush rather, and you just blend all the colors in. You blend everything in. You take the seams and the lines that you use to kind of build the image, and then you just blend it all and meld it all together. And that's what using the brush tool is kind of doing. It's a very methodical, artistic process, and we're just blending everything in to really trying to sell the effects to the viewers. So again, this photo isn't the best candidate for this kind of photo, but it's a really good example, I think. So there we go. We have our slightly brighter horizon line. We might even want to, increase that a little further, go a little bit brighter even still. And then what's nice is from here, we can target the layers individually. So we can just click the base layer, which is called composite right here. And I still think that the base layer needs to be a little darker. So we can click composite and go back to the develop module, and it will just take our base photo that we started with, and we can lower that exposure even more, raise the shadows a little bit, do even more blue tones, really add the blues in there. And then here I think I'm going to take away some structure a little bit. We're just going to add a little bit of minus structure to soften up the edges a bit more. And then we'll just go back to layers, and that should take effect on that bottom layer. So there we go. Look, that just made things even a little nicer there. The stars might need to be a little brighter, so maybe let's click on the stars layer, and let's work on the stars a little bit. Also might like to see a little bit more detail in there. So now that we have the stars layer selected, click develop, just like we did on the other layer. Except this time we just have the stars, obviously. So let's bump the exposure up a little bit. Let's take the shadows up. Let's add some structure to add some detail in there. We're actually going to add some haze. Instead of dehaze, we're going to add haze, because I think just adding some atmospheric haze will kind of sell the effect a little better. Add a little bit more blues, and I'm going to go up here to the Show More tab, and I'm going to do the curves selection. And we're just going to play with the curves a little bit to add some contrast. Gonna add that, maybe just like a slight little S curve here. Nothing too much, but I just want to get some more contrast and detail out of there. Okay, something like that, just very subtle. Then let's go back to layers, and that effect will take place as well over the stars. So see there, just a little lift in the stars. And again, I think I might have gone too bright on the base layer, but you get the idea. You can keep going back and forth until you're good. And then let's say that we've reached a point where we like everything and we're good to go. Well, we can just click save down here. All right. And what that's going to do is it's going to save all of these changes into that PSD copy that it made. And then we're going to go back to browse, and I'll show you what that did. We're going to go ahead and save and close this layer. And here we go. So that's the layer that we started out with, or the image, rather. See, image number 8638, and then here is 8638 copy PSD. So there's our Photoshop file. So what's nice is we've made the sky replacement into one image that we can go back into the develop module, and we can start, processing that. So I'm not going to do a whole lot, but you can see now they're not separate layers anymore. We can take the global exposure up, and we can globally add contrast, take the whites up, okay, the blacks, add some structure, maybe add some dehaze this time, some more blues, some magentas. Okay, you can just really go wild with it. You can hop into the effects module. Let's just do that real quick. Why not? We're already having so much fun here. You can go into the filters or the presets here. Let's try a glow filter and see what that does. Ooh, that's kind of cool. And that's under the HDR look folder. So we can add some more glow, right? Or we can just subtly blend the layer in, just subtly. And look, I mean, that's pretty convincing. Again, the layer isn't, the base image isn't a great candidate because the lighting was so contrasty and there's shadows everywhere. But that's pretty darn convincing if you look at the tree line and the stars from where we started. And we didn't need Photoshop at all. That's what's so cool. All of this was inside On1 Photo Raw. So yeah, hope this helps some of you, especially the people that don't like jumping around the different softwares. So if you guys have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, see you guys in the next one. If you would like to stay up to date on all of my photography videos and free tutorials, please consider subscribing by clicking on my face. And if you would like to find out more about me and how to improve your photography, visit my website at findingmiddleearth.com.